Do you know how to go shopping using basic Spanish? How to say you want to buy that thing or bargain a little?
By the end of this episode, you'll be able to ask for prices, point to items near or far away, and say, I want that one. Even if something is too expensive, you can learn to bargain politely, all as a confident beginner. Vamos, Spanglish amigos, let's do it! Welcome to Spanglish Friends, the podcast for true beginner Spanish learners.
Hola amigos, I'm Val, your experienced Spanish teacher and co-host from Venezuela.
And I'm Em, your Australian co-host who's been learning Spanish for 10 years.
We'll help you get confident listening and speaking beginner Spanish with content you can actually use in real-life conversations.
Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and follow us on socials at Spanglish_Friends. Let's get started.
Comencemos.
Hola, Spanglish friends, and welcome back.
Hola amigos, bienvenidos de nuevo a nuestro episodio 49. Welcome to our episode 49.
Can't believe we're at episode 49. Today we're talking about another super practical beginner's topic, and that is the basics of going shopping in Spanish, whether you're shopping for souvenirs, clothes, snacks, food. This comes up all the time whenever you're in a Spanish-speaking country. But if that's not near or on your horizon, this episode is going to be a great way to learn how to say things like this and that in Spanish if you haven't learned how to do so already.
In this episode, we are answering 3 questions that normally beginners, they always ask. They are, número 1, how do you ask how much is that in Spanish? Número 2, how do you refer to items near or far, saying, I want this one or I want that one? And our last one, número 3, how do you say when something is too expensive or when you want politely bargain?
You're going to hear a mini conversation first, una conversación pequeña, and then we'll break everything down step by step. In this mini conversation, Val is going to be a souvenir shop owner, and I'm going to be pretending to be a customer.
Remember, friends, you don't need to understand every word. Just listen for familiar words, okay? Especially shopping and prices words.
Are you ready for our conversation, Profe Val?
Sí, comencemos.
Hola, ¿cuánto cuesta esa camisa?
Esa camisa cuesta $20.
Está un poco cara. ¿Puede darme un descuento?
No, lo siento, no puedo.
Ya, ok, está bien. ¿Y cuánto cuesta este sombrero?
Este sombrero cuesta $15.
Perfecto. Me gusta mucho. Voy a comprarlo.
Genial, amigos. What you just heard was a natural conversation about asking prices that you can normally have in a daily conversation when you're going to buy something. Here, also, we mentioned how to react politely if something is too expensive and point them to items near or far.
Yes, don't push the panic button if you didn't understand everything, because we're going to break down everything you need to know now into beginner-friendly pieces so you can start using this basic Spanish right away. Firstly, how do you say how much is that thing in Spanish? One of the most common ways to ask is cuánto cuesta? Cuánto cuesta? Which means how much does it cost?
Someone might reply with this. This is something I used also in our mini conversation, which is cuesta plus the price. Literally, it cost plus the price. Like cuesta $20, it costs $20, or cuesta $40, $40. We have an episode dedicated to numbers in Spanish. If you want to head back and learn a little bit more the numbers in Spanish, it's our episode 10, okay?
That's right. So moving on, how do we say in Spanish, how much does this thing or that thing cost, Profe Val?
You can say cuánto cuesta plus the thing. For example, cuánto cuesta esa camisa? How much is that shirt. Or, ¿cuánto cuesta este sombrero? How much is this hat?
Did you hear then, friends, how Val used two different words? Esa camisa and este sombrero. What we want to unpack here is what's the difference and how do we use these words to point to the direction of an item we want to buy in Spanish?
Let's dive into that right now, Em. One of the key things you need to understand when you're going for shopping is how do you say that versus how do you say this?
So we know Spanish loves genders and they love to have plural forms as well. So in Spanish, there's not just two words for this and that. No, no, no. There are 8 words you need to know.
That's because we love to make you guys work hard. That's the reason.
Yes. And honestly, these are still words I get confused to date 10 years after learning. But in Spanish, you need to know to choose your word based on the object's gender and the number of that thing. So if you want to point to something that's near, that's close to you, to say, I want this thing, you need to use este for masculine singular things or esta for feminine singular things. Estos for masculine plural things and estas for feminine plural things. Now that's a lot of grammar. So Val, can you bring this to life for us? What does this actually mean when we go shopping?
Sí, let's give examples with 2 items when we have just one and when we have more than 2. Aquí, amigos, if we have just one hat, okay, and we want to say this hat near me, I would say este sombrero. Este, because sombrero is a masculine singular word. Then we have shirt. Shirt in Spanish is a feminine word. And if I want to say this shirt near me, I would need to say esta camisa. Esta as camisa, again, is a feminine singular word. I have just one on my hands. On the other hand, if I have more than one hat, I have 2 hats, okay? Near me, and I want to say these hats, I would need to say estos sombreros, okay, in the plural form. And finally, if I have more than 2 shirts, as the previous example I gave, shirt is a feminine word, okay? And if I have 2 near me, I would need to say these shirts, right? In Spanish would be estas camisas. As camisas is a feminine plural word, I would need to add estas. Estas camisas.
So now we know how to say this thing or these things for things that are close to us. But if we want to refer to something further away, to say, I want that thing over there, we need to use ese for a masculine singular thing, esa for a feminine singular thing, esos for a masculine plural thing, and esas for a feminine plural thing. Val, bring this to life for us with the hats and the shirts.
The same examples, amigos, to make it easy. Again, if you have one hat, you see it's farther away, and you want to say that hat, masculine singular word in Spanish would be sombrero, ese sombrero. On the other hand, a feminine word like shirt, camisa, is farther away, and you say that shirt in Spanish would be esa camisa. When we have more than one hat and we are pointing at them farther away, those hats, we will need to say esos sombreros. And when we have more than one shirt, those shirts farther away, esas camisas.
So if we go back to our mini conversation, I said I want esa camisa because I wanted that shirt that was further away from me. And este sombrero to say this hat because it was closer to me. I want this hat. So these words for this and that are so super useful when you're shopping, when you are pointing to things. I use these words all the time when I was traveling in Spanish.
Nice, Em. But what if the price of the thing you want to buy is higher than you expected? Okay. Well, there are simple phrases you can use. The first one is está caro or está cara, depending on the gender of that object or shirt or souvenir you want to buy. Está caro or está cara means it's too expensive. It's expensive.
And you could try your luck if you want in markets with ¿puede darme un descuento? ¿Puede darme un descuento? This means, can you give me a discount?
On the other hand, if you want to accept the price, you just need to say está bien, like, oh, it's fine. And if you're going to buy it, you can say voy a comprarlo. Voy a means I'm going to, and comprarlo would mean buy it if you decide to purchase the item.
So combining everything we've learned, you could say, está un poco caro. ¿Puede darme un descuento? Like, oh, it's a bit expensive. Can you give me a discount? Está bien, voy a comprarlo, which is like, that's okay. I'm going to buy it. Just like I said in our mini conversation earlier.
Normally, beginners don't need to worry about complex bargaining, okay? But we still wanted to teach you. Just using these simple phrases politely makes you sound confident. And remember, gestures and being friendly, saying por favor, please, and gracias, thank you, are going to make you sound even more polite and friendly. Always a smile helps as well.
Definitely. I definitely used these techniques when I went to Machu Picchu and I was souvenir shopping and it helped me get a few little discounts. So try your luck and see how you go in a polite way. Very nice, friends. So let's quickly cement in our minds what we've learned today when it comes to shopping in Spanish, talking about this thing and that thing.
Today, amigos, we learned número uno, how to ask prices using cuánto cuesta. ¿Cuánto cuesta plus the thing? ¿Cuánto cuesta esta camisa? ¿Cuánto cuesta este sombrero? Número dos, you learn how to talk about near things versus far things using este, esta, estos, and estas for things that are close to you, near, and for things that are bit farther away, you can say ese, esa, esos, and esas. All of these depend on the gender and the amount of things you're pointing at. And our last one, número tres, how to react when something is expensive using está caro or está cara. And politely bargain with ¿puede darme un descuento? Or if you just want to accept it, you can say está bien, voy a comprarlo. These are exactly the tools you need for real shopping conversations in Spanish.
That's right. And this is your chance to put your new skills into practice right now with our reto de la semana, our challenge of the week.
Nuestro reto es try describing this or that thing in Spanish using the word imán, handy word which means magnet. When buying souvenirs, you can use it. If you wanted to buy one, how would you say this magnet or that magnet?
Oh, good challenge, Profe Val. Post your answers about how you would say this magnet or that magnet in the comments or send us a direct message on Instagram and we can see if you're understanding how to use these important communicating words in Spanish. And we'd love to give one of our Spanglish friends a shout out in an upcoming episode.
Yes, and a shout out of this week especially goes to our Spanglish friend, Doe, who commented on episode 42. Our episode about how to learn Spanish in 2026. He shared his learning goal, which was to listen to something in Spanish every week. Amazing goal, though. Thank you so much.
Excelente, dog. We can't wait to hear your progress. Amazing work as always, friends. Remembering that practice makes progress, not perfection.
And a spoiler alert, for next week, we'll be talking all about how to go grocery shopping using simple Spanish. How do you navigate a supermarket in Spanish or when you're going to be at the cashier and you want to pay? With some beginner vocabulary about food too.
Excelente. Nos vemos, Spanglish legends.
Hasta la próxima, amigos. Thanks for listening to Spanglish Friends. We are both so proud of the time you're investing to level up your Spanish skills.
If you've enjoyed today's episode, follow us, leave a rating, or tell a friend about the show. It helps our awesome community grow.
Join fellow beginner Spanish learners by following us on Instagram and TikTok at Spanglish_friends.
Congratulations on taking another step in your Spanish learning journey.
Hasta la próxima, amigos.